In a place not so long ago, in a small town away from almost everything, lived a boy named Jabari. Jabari was often overlooked and teased by the other boys, and after a while Jabari felt as though he was nothing special, often lost in his own world. Over the time that he had lived in this small town, Jabari had become a loner at school, struggling to make friends. His classmates often played pranks on him, further damaging his self-esteem. He said he didn't care, but he did, at least a little. One day on the playground, when Jabari was looking in his backpack, he noticed a small squirrel watching him. He thought he was just imagining things, but then a bird seemed to do the same. As he was observing, the squirrel snatched his sock pocket, which had all his money. Jabari dashed after the squirrel, eyes fixed on his stolen belongings. Where was he going? Jabari didn't know, but he couldn't let the squirrel get away. Finally, the squirrel dropped the sock pocket, and Jabari reached down and picked it up. Only then did Jabari realize that the sky was now different. He realized he was no longer in the same place, space, town, or world. Where was he? Jabari quickly realized that this was not just any ordinary place. It was a magical realm where animals could talk. They talked, and he could understand them. It was a miracle, or magic, or both. A bird introduced himself as Flutter and the squirrel as Chatter. Flutter and Chatter were sent by Jabari's biological parents. The boy was the lost boy of this magical realm, and his parents were the king and queen. He could not believe it. It was all so much at one time. Could this be true, or were his newfound friends mistaken? Jabari was astonished. He had always longed to know about his parents. He felt a spark of hope, his heart filled with excitement and fear. Could this be true? What if it was? But if it was, what would it mean to him, and how would that change everything that he had known about himself? According to records in secret books, Jabari's parents had left him in the human world for his safety after a big siege on the kingdom. The realm was under threat by a monstrous creature named Gorgon, according to the local town historian. So the king and queen sent their young child to the only place they felt he would be safe, which was the other realm. Flutter and Chatter explained that only Jabari, with his pure heart and courage, could save the realm from Gorgon. Jabari felt a pulsating surge of responsibility. He had always wondered why he was different. This was his first chance to prove that he truly was. But what if he was not who they said? And what if he could not help them? Jabari was scared. There were so many ifs and not enough answers, with no true certainty that anything would work out in the end. He was conflicted. One new thing was certain. Jabari was given the gift of the ability to communicate with the animals. Maybe this ability would help guide him in his quest. So weighing all the possibilities, Jabari decided to accept the task. So shortly after, Jabari's journey began. He knew he would face challenges, but with the help of Flutter, Chatter, and his newfound ability, maybe he could overcome them. But in that instance, Jabari took a moment and reflected on all that had happened. And even though the journey had just begun, he realized that he had already learned to trust himself and others. And he had learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it in being willing to try. And he learned the power of friendship. But would these things be enough in the end? There were no guarantees. This was the only true certainty. The day came when Jabari had to face Gorgon. It was a fierce battle, but Jabari, empowered by his courage, stood bravely. Gorgon was stronger and more fierce. Jabari knew in those brief moments he would not win if he fought Gorgon in the same way others had, because these methods were Gorgon's strengths, but Jabari's weaknesses. Jabari thought and looked to the sky and saw a bird. Quickly he spoke to the bird, who told him Gorgon can't win without his sword, and it was hidden in the nearby tree. Jabari turned and spoke to the owl. "Which one is it?" The owl pointed his wing and Jabari rushed for the tree. Gorgon was so caught off guard, he knew not what Jabari was doing. Another bird told Jabari, "Dig deeper." Jabari complied and felt the metal in the tree. He pulled it out. Gorgon turned to see the boy holding his sword and was surprised. Jabari wasted no time. "Rush in!" a bird cried. Jabari complied. His parents, who had been watching over him, were proud of their son's bravery. When Jabari ran in toward Gorgon, before he reached him, a yellow glow rose around Gorgon, and then the yellow light went inward like a fire, and Gorgon was no more. Jabari had won! But to his surprise, he was still unhappy. In that moment, Jabari realized he never needed to find himself through other people or in being a prince, because he was always who he needed to be. So Jabari chose to return to the human world, because being a prince was not what made him special. Being the best version of himself is what made him special and unique and awesome. He enjoyed talking to the animals, but he knew that staying in this new world would be running away from the one he knew. So Jabari bid farewell to Flutter, Chatter, and the king and queen, who said he was welcome to return whenever he wanted. So Jabari knew he was never alone, for he carried the magic of the realm within him, and he had the courage of a Gorgon within his heart. Back in the human world, Jabari was changed. He was more confident, more courageous. He made friends easily and no longer felt overlooked because he knew who he was, and it did not matter if others knew it or accepted him. He accepted himself. Jabari never told anyone he was a prince or of his travels or his adventure either, because it was not important for others to know or believe him. What was important was that he knew who he was and he lived in his spirit of self, and that was all he needed. Jabari's journey taught him that everyone is special in their own way. He learned the true meaning of courage, confidence, and most importantly, self-love comes from within. It is not in the number of friends you have, and it is not in the things that you have. Jabari's newfound confidence was infectious. While now he did not care if people knew who he was, now everyone wanted to get to know him. He became popular, even though that was no longer of interest to him, and even though no one knew of his adventures, people could see the newfound confidence and courage in him. Jabari realized the best life is living every day with joy and without worry about what might or might not happen, because every day is an adventure